Mr. Lonnie Bunch. Ah, what an honor it is to know you, to work with you, and to witness your passion and dedication in action as you bring such a joyful energy to your role in preserving and honoring our history and culture. Through all of the museums you oversee and all of the exhibits you've touched, you have so wonderfully guided us through understanding where we've come from, offering us hope of what is to come. You've said that the Smithsonian is the glue that holds the nation together, and you, sir, are the glue that holds the Smithsonian together. So I say congratulations on being honored with the Records of Achievement Award. God bless.
In my office, there's a picture of an enslaved woman carrying a big hoe in a basket, and her knuckles are swollen, her dress is tattered, and yet she's looking up and moving forward. To me, being African American means you look up, you move forward, no matter how heavy the burden.
Lonnie Bunch is a trailblazer. He's been a figure in public history and a leader in public history for his entire career.
He has this passion for history that is contagious.
I think of him as courageous, I think of him as visionary, and I think of him as diplomatic.
Each year, the National Archives Foundation honors a person who's made a major contribution to the American experience, and Lonnie Bunch is one of those people. He's a creator, he's a leader, he's a writer, he's a historian. We're honored to have him with us tonight.
I was a kid that loved the New York Yankees more than anything else in the world, and I was a kid that really wanted to understand why some people hated people just because of the color of their skin. I grew up in a town that was predominantly non-African American. I had to learn to negotiate race at an early age, and one of the ways I tried to do that was by looking at history. History would be my way of understanding myself, and then later I realized history was my way to understand the country.
He sort of fell into museum work. It wasn't something that he had been pining to do. He was, as I understand, a student who went to go meet with the then secretary of the Smithsonian, who said, I think there might be a job for you at the Air and Space Museum. And then he wound up walking in the door, and the joint was different forevermore. He's just changed every space he's ever occupied. And he's done it in a way that is revolutionary, but not necessarily by being a revolutionary. He's worked within the system to make sure that the aperture of our history was as wide as it could possibly be.
That's what he's done throughout his careers, to contextualize history so that we can use it to understand the present and move forward in the future in a way that makes us stronger.
I am honored and humbled to welcome you to this groundbreaking ceremony for the newest museum of the Smithsonian Institution, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I just love to say that.
3, 2, 1, break ground.
I knew that this is where this museum would have to be, that this is America's front lawn, and this is the place where people come to learn what it means to be an American, and this museum needs to be there. When I started, everybody told me it was foolish to take this on because it started with no staff, no idea where the museum would be, no collections, no money. Nothing. And people told me you should be the second director because the first one will fail.
He decided that he wanted America to participate in this. That was brilliant on so many levels.
The thing for me was I knew that we had to find good stuff. So one day I fell asleep and I woke up in front of the television and there was Antique Roadshow. I'd never heard of it, you know, and I thought, what a good idea. So I put a new spin on it, called it Saving African American Treasures, and we went around the country and said, bring out your stuff. And 70% of all the things we found in the collection came from basements, trunks, and attics of people's homes.
Whether you are a descendant of African Americans, whether that is part of your history or not, when you walk in that building, you realize this is my history too. Because that's the interesting thing about this history. It's a history of African American history and culture. But African American history is American history.
That has been one of the great strengths of the museum, that it says it is a story for us all, and that we all can find ourselves, our history, our understanding of America in this building.
I view the archives as the cornerstone for democracy. You cannot have accountability in a democracy without having records. The National Archives is the repository for all federal records. Therefore, the National Archives is essential for the continuation of democracy. We're also looking to expand the American story in important ways. We will be including the Emancipation Proclamation in the rotunda to add to the Charters of Freedom, and that is a really critically important as we head into our 250th anniversary of the United States.
As so many generations have before, we gather on our National Mall to tell an essential part of our American story. We're here in part because of all those Americans. The Civil War vets, the civil rights foot soldiers, the champions of this effort on Capitol Hill, who for more than a century kept the dream of this museum alive. It includes a man without whose vision and passion and persistence we would not be here today, Mr. Lonnie Bunch.
Lonnie has built a legacy that will be seen by millions of people for decades, and really for centuries. His legacy is giving people a belief in themselves and understanding themselves and helping to explain the American story.
He's given people the gift of history. And for people who were left at the margins, he's placed them at the center of that history. And America still has not told or embraced its full story, but to the extent that we have done it this far, we owe a large measure of gratitude to Lonnie Bunch for getting us there.
We've guaranteed that as long as there's an America, this museum will educate, engage, and ensure a fuller story of our country will be told on the National Mall. We believe there is nothing more powerful than a people, than a nation steeped in its history, and there is nothing more noble than honoring all of our ancestors by remembering. So let me conclude by simply saying, welcome home.
Thank you.